The Sun Prince, written by Jesse Barrows Retzes, illustrated by Scribini. The Sun Prince. Once upon a time, far, far away, there was a village that had a prince. He was not just any prince, he was a special prince. It was said that as long as the prince was happy, the sun would shine throughout the land. The village people were grateful that the prince was happy because they got to enjoy the sunshine. However, one day the people's curiosity grew bigger, and they wondered if the prince's happiness really did keep the sun shining. They decided to test it out. That night, the people in the village had a big party. They played music, laughed, sang, and talked loudly. The prince was in his bed trying to sleep. He covered his ears due to all the noise, wondering why his people are having such a big party and why they didn't invite him. The next day, people were yawning and sleepy. They were up most of the night. The prince walked through the town with a big smile on his face, greeting the people. "Hello," he said. "A beautiful morning, isn't it?" The people couldn't believe it. The prince must have heard all the noise. Why was he so happy? The people decided next to steal the prince's royal flowers and his precious fountain. The next night, the prince went to bed. The people snuck into his garden, dug up all the flowers, and hid them out of sight. They moved the fountain and placed it behind a farmer's barn. The next morning, the prince woke up and decided to walk around the castle. He suddenly realized his flowers were nowhere to be seen. "Where are my flowers?" He looked around and shouted, "Where is my fountain? What's going on?" he said, throwing his hands in the air. The people waited for the prince to arrive. When he did, they were shocked. He was still happy. "What can we do?" one villager asked. That night, the people snuck into the royal stables and took the prince's horse. The next day, the prince went to the stables to take his horse out for a ride. When he got there, he saw that his horse was gone. "Well, where did he go?" he questioned. The people in the village were getting very tired and very sleepy. They sat around waiting to see the prince again. When the prince came to the streets, he was whistling as he posted signs about his missing horse. The people couldn't take it any longer. One farmer asked the prince, "Why are you not sad?" The prince answered, "Why should I be?" "Your beloved horse is missing," another person in the crowd shouted. The prince smiled at his people. "And I'm sure my good people will find her. She won't go far. Maybe she followed the sweet smell of Miss Potter's cupcakes." "Is it true that as long as you're happy, the sun will shine?" another person asked. The prince asked, "Why does it matter if it's true? Don't you like the sunshine?" A woman yelled, "We took your horse. We moved your flowers. We hid your fountain." A man shouted, "We've been trying to make you feel sad for 3 days, and yet you come out as happy every day." The prince looked down with tears in his eyes. "You all wanted to make me sad," he said. "Well, that makes me sad." The prince shrugged his shoulders and walked to his castle. For 3 days, the prince stayed in the castle. For 3 days, the people didn't see the sun. The people felt horrible that they made the prince sad, so they decided to replant his flowers. They brought back his fountain and even returned his horse. Then they decided to throw another party, a grand festival, to celebrate the sun and their prince. This time they invited him. When the prince arrived at the party, he saw a cake decorated with candy-shaped suns, and the streets were lined with colorful flags. The people played the music, laughed, sang, talked loudly, and apologized to the prince for making him sad. The sun began to shine. As night fell, the prince went home. He looked at his garden, his horse, and to the village. He thought how lucky he was that his people did care about him. Every day after that, the village people made sure that they were kind to their prince and each other. The sun continued to shine.